So as we begin this chapter, we are looking at what's called graphing linear equations. So first thing I want to look at and show you is that every line that you see on a graph, like these three that are pictured right here, every line has an equation that goes with it. So what we're going to be doing in this chapter is figuring out, if you have an equation, first of all, how to graph that line, what the line would look like. Is it straight? Is it curved? What direction is it going? How steep is it? All of that you can tell just simply by looking at the equation. So we'll do that first. Then we'll also get into actually figuring out how steep the line is. And then we'll get into going backwards. If you have the line, then how would you figure out what the equation would be that would go with it? Okay, so very simple. All we're going to look at in this chapter, in this unit, are going to be linear equations. They form a straight line. Okay, we're not going to get into anything curved, anything that's non-linear. So first thing we need to do is write down some steps for how to graph a line. Okay, so we're going to start out real basic. We'll get into other methods of trying to figure out how to graph a linear equation later on. But here are the steps that we're going to follow today. Okay, first thing is you need to make an XY table. Okay, if you don't remember what that is, it's basically a T table. You have X on the left, Y on the right. Okay, so here's your XY table. Step number 2, you're going to choose 0, 1, and 2 as your X values. So I'm going to write 0, 1, and 2 right there. Now, theoretically, your X values could be whatever numbers you want them to be. But so that we are all on the same page, we're all going to use 0, 1, and 2. Make sure we all have the same numbers. Okay, but these could be any numbers that you like. Now, what we will do is we're going to take these three numbers, the 0, 1, and the 2, and you're going to plug those into the equation that they give you. Okay, and then you're going to solve it for y. So for now, your equation will look something like this. Y equals x plus 4. Okay, your equation of a line will always have an x and a y. Okay, so what we would do is we would plug each of these in for x, because that's what we made x. So if I plug in 0 where the x is, I have y equals 0 plus 4. So my answer is 4. So when x was 0 and I plugged it in, I got y to equal 4. So I wrote 4 right in there. Now if I plug 1 in for x, I have y equals 1 plus 4. So y equals 5. And then lastly, if I plug in 2 for x, I have y equals 2 plus 4, so y equals 6. Okay, so you see what I did? All I did was I took each of those x values, plugged them in where the x was in the equation, and then just solved it. Now, what this does, and this is step number 4, this gives you 3 ordered pairs that you are going to plot on your graph. Remember, our ordered pairs are always x, comma, y. So this first ordered pair is 0, 4.
Teacher, Jamie's ready for the launch in the library. If you could head that way. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Our second ordered pair is 1, 5. My third ordered pair is 2, 6. So I would then go ahead, plot these on the graph, and then you will see whenever you plot them that they all three fall in a straight line. So then what we would do is connect all those points with a line, and then you're going to stick arrows on both ends of that line. And what those arrows indicate, they tell you that that line would actually go on forever in both directions. I could pick 100 as x. That would mean y would be 100 plus 4 is 104. And if you were to continue that line up, 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 it would pass through the point 100, 104. Okay, so we're going to go through and do a few examples, and then you'll be able to move on. Okay, so this example gives us the equation y equals 3x minus 2. And what we want to do is we're going to graph this line. It's going to make a straight line somewhere on our graph. So step number 1 was to make an XY table. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and it said you're going to choose 0, 1, and 2 as your x values. Okay, and all we need to do is plug those into the equation. So if you look at your equation, it says y equals 3x minus 2. So that means 3 times x minus 2. So if I plug that in, I have 3 times 0 minus 2, and that equals y. Well, 3 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. Okay, when I plug 1 in, I have 3 times 1 minus 2. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is positive 1. And then lastly, plug in the number 2. So I have y equals 3 times 2 minus 2. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 2 is 4. So what I have now are 3 ordered pairs for what I need to plot. So my first one is 0, negative 2. My second one is 1, 1. And my third one is 2, 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plot these on the graph over here. So 0, negative 2. So over 0 on the x-axis, and then down to negative 2 on the y-axis. 1, 1, I go right 1 and up 1. And 2, 4, right 2, up 4. And if you see, they fall in a straight line. And we connect those and put arrows on either end. And that's it, you're done. There's your line for this equation. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have y equals 1/2 x plus 3. So again, I'm going to make my xy table. Choose 0, 1, and 2 as my x values. Notice how I left a little bit of space in between them to show my work on here. So first of all, when I plug in 0, 1/2 times 0 plus 3. Well, half of 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. So that ordered pair right there is 0, 3. Okay, when I plug in 1, I have 1/2 times 1 plus 3. Well, half of 1 is 1/2. And then when I add 3 to that, I get 3.5. So my ordered pair for the second one is 1, 3.5. And then lastly, when I plug in 2, y equals 1/2 times 2 plus 3. So half of 2 is 1, plus 3 is 4. And my ordered pair for that would be 2, 4. So as I plot these, I have 0, 3, so I'm going to go over 0 and up 3. Over 1, up 3.5 is going to be right here between 3 and 4. And then over 2, up 4. And then connect those with a line and put arrows on both ends. And there's your line that goes with that equation. Okay, let's look at one more example, and then you'll be able to move on. Okay, this equation, we have y equals negative 2x plus 4. So here's my xy table. 0, 1, and 2. And start plugging in numbers. So negative 2 times 0 plus 4. Well, negative 2 times 0 is 0. Plus 4 is 4. So your ordered pair for this one would be 0, 4. Okay, when I plug in 1, I have y equals negative 2 times 1 plus 4. Well, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Plus 4 would give me a positive 2. So my ordered pair for this one is 1, 2. And then lastly, when I plug in 2, I have -2 times 2 plus 4. Well, -2 times 2 is a -4. Plus 4 gives me 0. So your ordered pair on this last one, oops, 2, 0. Okay, now I'm going to plot these points. So 0, 4, I'm going to go over 0 and up 4. 1, 2, over 1, up 2. And then 2, 0, over 2, up 0. They all fall in a straight line. Connect them and put arrows on the ends. Okay, now as you are graphing these, like I said, the ones that we do will always fall in a straight line. So if your points don't fall in a straight line, something is wrong. Either go back and check your math, okay, on all of these, make sure you did the math correctly. Second thing would be you plotted your ordered pairs wrong. My guess would be you plotted them backwards. Maybe you went up and then over. Remember, when we're plotting points, we always go X first on the X-axis and then Y. Think alphabetically.